a mind flare floats through in the cavernous halls of Orindol. The brine-filled pool at the center ripples as an elder brain's psychic voice resonates. A mind flayer kneels, tendrils twitching, beginning its telepathic report. You have returned, Seeker. Speak. What have you seen? The mind flayer slowly tilts, its head in reverence. Elder brain, my neural lattice strains to articulate. The far realm defies reason, yet I have gleaned much. Do not waste thought. Describe its structure. Infinite layers, Elder. Thin as our neural threads, stacked endlessly. Transparent, allowing glimpses through 20 layers before the mind falters. Each layer unstable, evaporating, multiplying, twisting under the whims of alien intellects. Elemental storms of incomprehensible energies drift like sentient tempests, just as we remember. Imagine, Elder, a realm where each thought reshapes the landscape, where time holds no dominion, and gravity is but a forgotten concept. I navigated these layers through sheer will, yet each passage felt like pushing through an endless psychic mire. The elder brain, its psionic energy palpable within the mind flayer's mind. Instability. Yes, elder, perpetual. Layers ripple, merge, and dissolve. The very fabric of reality there is malleable, shifting with thought. I observed storms of raw psionic energy, surging through layers like malevolent tides, each pulse capable of unraveling a mind. I employed our cerebral inhibitors, yet still the realm's essence sought to rewrite my existence. The layers breathe, Elder, pulsing with alien life. And what about the entities? Do they remain constant? They watched me, Elder. Their consciousness brushed mine. I deployed inhibitors, yet still. They touched my mind. Each entity an enigma, a fusion of nightmare and intellect. Some mimicked forms familiar to mortals, mammalian, insectoid, even divine, but all were grotesque echoes. Rivers of milky ichor floated freely, breaking through layers like tendrils of thought. Blue globes burst upon contact, releasing monstrous parasites. Ticks the size of our thralls, ravenous for blood. Gelatinous worms crawled across dimensions, their forms translucent, yet oppressive. Pseudo-natural beings, Elder, devoid of logic. Their forms shifted as I observed them. Tentacles sprouting from limbs, mouths forming where eyes should be. The Kaorti, once mortals like the surface wizards we disdain, now aberrant kin. They crafted resinous armor to shield their fragile minds from the far realm's touch. These Kaorti seek to reshape our plane, to drown the prime material in madness. Their creations, sky bleeders, winged predators with translucent wings that shimmer with psionic residue, and the Rukaner, living siege engines of muscle and madness, are crude yet effective. They know war, Elder. And the lords? Speak and describe my child. The Uverdaum, I witnessed one, 6 arms splayed like the control appendages of our psionic matrices, draped in loose fabric. Its head replaced by a serpentine appendage, ending in an iron-hard spike. Its psionic resonance, discordant, overwhelming. Its presence fractured the layers around it, bending them to its whim, and experimentation on a humanoid. It gazed through me, Elder, dissecting my thoughts, as one of us might dissect a surface creature's mind. I fortified my defenses, but its curiosity lingered. Could they resist us? Their intellects are vast, Elder. Time and gravity do not bind them. Movement requires thought. The air is viscous, a syrup-like void, yet they drift effortlessly. Our neural enhancements must evolve. Their smallest denizens dwarf cities. They exist beyond time. Mortal minds fracture upon entry, reliving warped memories endlessly. Eyes sprout from palms, limbs twist into alien forms. I beheld a sea of minds, elder, each pulsing with alien thought. They will not notice us, unless we give them cause. Then we shall adapt. Your knowledge serves us well. Prepare, Seeker. Orindol will prevail, or be consumed. The Mind Flayer floats to a nearby humanoid, awaiting implantation. The humanoid convulses as the process of seromorphosis begins. The Mind Flayer then floats back towards the pool with a series of other Mind Flayers in a paralytic state around the elder brain. A ripple of psionic energy hums through the brine-filled pool, linking the elder brain and the returning Mind Flayer. Their thoughts entwine in a silent exchange before the Mind Flayer continues with its report. The mission bore fruit. From the ruins of the Elder Elves, once luminous minds of a bygone age, I retrieved ancient tomes, fragments of knowledge lost to time. These elves, daring and reckless, carved a path into the unknown beneath Firestorm Peak. Firestorm Peak. The Elder Brain muses, where the veil thins every 27 cycles of their feeble mortal time. Indeed, Elder. There, in their arcane laboratory, they breach the far realm's boundary. Each cycle, the gate yawns open, spilling madness into our world. I traced their path, deciphered their wards, and braved the currents of psionic insanity that linger still. What I bring you is not only the observation, but the very essence of the far realm's chaotic truths. Proceed, Seeker. Unravel what you have witnessed. The Mind Flayer telepathically communicates the text on the series of parchment. Vague legends recall the vaunted tasks and mighty accomplishments of the Elder Elves, a recondite culture that thrived ages ago. Those elders are gone, and all that remains of their works are fragmented stories, myths, and a terrible legacy. The elders were thaumaturges, who sought to understand every facet of the planar cosmology they inhabited. Their research pried into many areas, but they were especially interested in establishing the ultimate theory of planar portals and gates. Not satisfied with the mundane expanses of intraplanar distances, the Old Ones created an entirely new arcane science that allowed them to bridge the far distances between parallel worlds separated by shadow. Establishing permanent gates to nearby planes was an extraordinary accomplishment for the Elder Elves, but in the flush of their success, they dreamed greater dreams. They soon became dissatisfied with the subjectively limited ability to span mere distance, as was possible with their so-called world gates. With a new fire of determination, they set to work on their greatest gate of all, the Vast Gate. It was the Old One's goal to fashion a passage that could bridge all distance and push outside creation to the theoretical realm of timeless infinity. In the inner sanctum of the Vast Gate Research Facility, they constructed their masterpiece. In a world-shaking feat of sorcery, psionics, science, and celestial sympathetic hexery, the Elder Elves empowered a gate that punched through reality as it was commonly understood and into the far realm, a place so distant in space and time that it was not originally part of their known cosmology of worlds and planes. The Vast Gate opened into a universe with its own closed geometry, a universe once separate, but no longer. Entities inhabited the newly breached geometry, but only by the slimmest margin could these monstrosities be defined as alive. Herculean minds immersed themselves in contemplations so alien that reality itself was warped and shaped by their presence. It was a vista whose contents could not be contained within the limited confines of a mortal mind. The lunatic might of these incomprehensible beings change space in horrid, unaccountable ways by their very presence. Lethal contradictions and toxic natural laws were born at a whim, only to dissolve like vapor to make way for newer, more insane dreams. Before this facility could shut the gate, a far realm entity seeped through, thereby permanently establishing a connection between the cosmology of the known and that which had previously been forbidden. The vast gate was eventually closed, but despite all efforts to stamp out all contact with the realm, a casual linkage remains. The Elder Brain's thoughts rippled through the chamber, and the Mind Flayer could feel its presence weighing on its mind, both a comfort and a threat. "You bring me something. I sense it. The book, your discovery. Speak. What have you found, child of mine?" The Mind Flayer's tentacles quivered as it approached the floating mass of the Elder Brain, its voice quiet but tinged with awe. I have found a tome in the far realm, written by the Elder Elves, or so it seems, a record of the Elder Evils, those primordial forces that shape the chaos beyond reality's borders. Their power, it is beyond anything I have encountered. The Elder Brain's thoughts darkened, and the vast, liquid expanse it inhabited seemed to pulse as if in response. The psychic waves that rippled out from the brain began to intensify, its voice seeping into the Mind Flayer's thoughts, slow and deliberate. The Elder Evils, how quaint. The elves sought to control that which is not to be controlled. They believed they could understand what they could never hope to tame. Those ancient powers are the true masters of entropy, of chaos. The Elder Elves were fools, for they could not see the larger truth. "What truth is that, my master?" There was a pause, an almost imperceptible shift in the Elder Brain's presence before its voice returned, heavy with the weight of its eons of knowledge. "The truth is that the Elder Evils are not to be controlled, but to be embraced. They are the origin of all things, the builders of the cosmos and the architects of destruction. The elves saw them as enemies. I see them as allies. You too will learn that. Through their power, you will transcend the limits of your mind." Allies? But this book, it speaks of their nature, of how they devour entire realities, how they twist the fabric of existence. Even the Elder Elves, with their great understanding, could not escape their grasp. Yes, they perished, but in their dying breaths, they recorded their greatest mistake, trying to comprehend beings who existed before even they understood their own place in the multiverse. The Elder Evils are not meant to be feared, my servant. They are meant to be revered. The Mind Flayer opened the book again, its mind racing as the Elder Brain's psionic influence entwined with its own thoughts, making the words blur and shift, revealing secrets that could only be understood when one was connected to the Elder Brain's vast network. This book, it speaks of the far realm as their domain. It speaks of things older than time itself, of entities whose thoughts warp entire planes of existence. Is this what you seek, my master? To commune with such beings? The Elder Brain's presence seemed to swell, filling the chamber with an oppressive, nearly tangible pressure. Its tendrils extended outward, encircling the Mind Flayer with a sense of looming inevitability. Yes, through this book, you will understand the key. The Elder Evils wait there, dormant. Yes, but their minds are alive, and when they awaken, we will join them. Together, we will reshape reality, and you, my child, will be my vessel. The Mind Flayer's thoughts swirled, the weight of its master's words pushing against its own burgeoning understanding of the Elder Evil's true nature. Its excitement was tempered with a creeping fear, a fear that only deepened as it realized the full scope of what the Elder Brain desired. And when we awaken them, what will we become, Master? The Elder Brain's thoughts rumbled through the chamber, as if pondering a question that had already been answered 1,000 times over. We will become one with them, or dominate them, if we so desire, as we were always meant to. The next step in our evolution. We will no longer be bound by the fragility of your form. the universe will bend to our will, and nothing will stand in our way. Continue and explain what this text presents. The Mind Flayer slowly moves its elongated finger down the page towards a section stating, "The world born dead." Few sages even know of Atropos and debate the origins of this elder evil. They somewhat agree that Atropos was spawned when Io created the first gods, but where they differ is in how Atropos was formed. Some claim the elder evil gained awareness from the divine amniotic fluid surrounding the first god of death, while others claim Atropos was the last god Io created, but was stillborn. Atropos has never come close to the world of Faerun, but those aware of him are ever watchful of the heavens, waiting for the day when the moonlet circles the tapestry of night. The moonlet is one of the drifting bodies forming the ring around the full grey planet known as Glyth, one of the 5 wanderers that do not follow the ordinary paths of the stars. Little do the mortals of the world know that a cataclysm affects this distant world. While the Illithids waged their interminable wars against the native humanoids, Atropos descended and wiped out all life, leaving Glyth an empty husk. Atropos now has turned its attention to Faerun and begun its slide towards a world ripe for the taking. Atropos is as much a place as it is a being. It is a small moonlet, spinning through the void, waiting to be ensnared by the pull of the planets it nears. To those on the surface of the chosen world, the elder evil appears as a speck in the sky. At night, it is almost invisible, blending in with the darkness, and when it draws near, it moves from a tiny dot until it dominates the sky. The Mind Flayer turns the page. Ragnora, mother of monsters. How curious. Many creation myths divide the world's history into 3 distinct eras: the present, the time of mortal races, and the time of the gods. Before the gods was the age of primeval forces, both good and ill. The mother of monsters belonged to that era. Ancient tales refer to the mother of monsters, a gigantic, unnatural creature that birthed horrors that plagued the early worlds. A minority of planar scholars claim the runes on which the information was found suggest that the story of Ragnora has been told many times, rewritten each time she is to appear. Each of the prior tales end in the extinguishing of mortal races on a world and the corruption of all its life. This elder evil is a twisted, irresistible force of creation. She exists to spawn life in her own terrible image. Legends tell of her spores raining down upon worlds to fester. The spores parasitize planets and animals, raising blisters that birth monsters, killing the hosts. Even inanimate objects sprout hideous creatures. Some unfortunate sentients are infected by spores before they become aberrant hybrids. A group of outsiders from several planes have formed a cult-like society, the Malshapers. Rather than fearing Ragnora, they revere her power and guide her plans. They create a trail through the multiverse, seeding it with life from a chosen world to lead the mother of monsters to her next target. Many elements of this trail are found within the astral plane, according to scribes. The Elder Brain's psionic energy hums within the Mind Flayer's mind. My child, are there records from the Fraternity of Order? The Mind Flayer's tendrils move slowly upward, almost in a thought-like state. Great Elder Brain, the chronicles speak of an era when the planes themselves trembled under the stirrings of a force far beyond our comprehension. In the age of creation, a primordial, known as the Prime Architect, sought to impose absolute order upon the elemental chaos. Its vision, that of the accordant expanse, perfect, unyielding, and complete, drove it to shape the very fabric of existence itself. 4 elemental lords, creatures of great potency, aided in this task, crafting the elements that would give rise to mortal life. But alas, As the architect reveled in its creation, corruption found its way into the very heart of its work. Fleeting imperfections, minute at first, became gaping flaws, fleshy tendrils of blue slime that consumed, grew, and ultimately ensnared an entire world. The great worm, the nine-tongued worm, emerged from this corruption, a chaotic devourer that threatened to tear open the fabric of the planes. The prime architect, in its arrogance, attempted to correct its design, battling the creature in a titanic clash. Yet it was not victorious in the way one would expect. The architect, in its failure, sacrificed itself, allowing its essence to be absorbed into the very energy it had once sought to control. It birthed a new form from the ashes of its death, mechanical, cold, perfect in its singular purpose, creating the Modrons who would march across the plains, sealing away the corrupt breaches and maintaining a semblance of order. A futile gesture, was it not? A perfect vision, shattered by a flaw it could not foresee, an imperfection embedded deep within the nature of existence. And what became of the Modrons? They sealed the breaches, closed the doors, but they could not undo the chaos that already seeped through. The far realm, that mad place, still exists, still festers. The Modrons, driven by their unknown purpose, carry out their cycles, yet they are but a distant echo of the architect's vision. How grand, how tragic, that the perfect order that was sought could not be fully realized. And what of travel to the far realm? Have they mastered it the way we have? The Mind Flayer turns the page with an almost curious look, if one could call it that. It's a simplistic understanding, great one, but I will translate elseways. While many aberrations do roam the depths of the 9 hells and the fetid layers of the abyss, they are especially common in one plane, the far realm. The far realm represents the very edge of creation, the place that exists at the borders of conception. What lies beyond is physically inconceivable and cannot be brought into existence. It is possible that the far realm exists as both a spatial and temporal frontier, as well as a planar one, and that a traveler who moves through space or time to the ends of the universe could reach the far realm in much the same way that a planar traveler could. If explorers have attempted such a journey, they have not returned to tell the tale. Wherever the far realm truly lies, it is a place where all natural law runs amok. Aberrations are spawned in its infinite madness, and some of these find their way through space, through time, or most commonly through planar travel, to the mundane realms of humanoids. An interesting take, but a simplistic one, however useful to see the knowledge that has accumulated over time itself. As the Mind Flayer floats through Orendal, its mind is ablaze with the endless teachings of the far realm, a realm where comprehension itself is shattered. It teaches us that the world is fragile, that reality is a cage built from fragile minds and limited perceptions. To see the true nature of the cosmos is to glimpse the abyss behind existence itself, a place where the laws of reality bend and writhe like serpents. A shudder runs through its body, a ripple of discomfort as it lingers in the strange energies. It teaches us that we are not the center. We are not even a footnote. The universe is vast beyond reckoning, and our understanding is an insect's crawl on the edge of a great ocean. And yet, there is beauty in this truth, the beauty of freedom. The far realm shows us that to abandon structure is to embrace true power, the power to reshape all that we know. It pauses, the weight of its realization heavy. It teaches us that madness is not to be feared. It is to be embraced, for in the twisting of the mind lies true liberation. Reality is a construct. The far realm, however, is beyond thought, beyond form, beyond purpose. To follow its teachings is to transcend existence itself. A sense of unease stirs within, the sharp edge of the unknown gnawing at the edges of its consciousness. Perhaps the greatest lesson the Far Realm offers is that curiosity itself is a double-edged blade, one that can illuminate the darkest corners of existence, or drive us to the brink of madness in the pursuit of answers never meant for mortal minds.